It's Monday, the 21st of August, 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and welcome back, Sean Aylmer.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be here.
5 stories in 5 minutes, so let's get straight into it, Sean. Story number 1, the federal government is bracing for a massive hit to the budget bottom line worth 5.6% of GDP over the next 4 decades. That's big.
Sure is. The federal budget will face $140 billion worth of extra pressure from 5 major factors: the National Disability Insurance Scheme, interest payments on debt, defence, aged care and healthcare. That's according to early data from the latest intergenerational report. The full report is due to be handed down on Thursday by Treasurer Jim Chalmers, but the government has already given a glimpse into what the nation's future holds. The cost of the 5 pressure points will rise to 14.4% of GDP over the next 40 years. That's up from 8.8%. Interest payments will double over the next 40 years. Scary.
Yeah, that is scary. But are these pressures a big surprise?
Not really. Many of these factors have been issues for a long time and widely discussed. The ageing of the population is responsible for about 40% of the increase in spending. There's not much that can be done about demographic changes, and it's not a negative either, of course, that we're living longer. But it does mean the government is on notice to find ways to tackle growing costs, wrangle with the additional healthcare and aged care requirements, just everything that goes along with an older population. Of course, finding new ways to encourage economic growth is a great start. Intergenerational reports are only meant to be released every 5 years or so. We actually had one 2 years ago. Current Treasurer Jim Chalmers has come out, said he wants to release these reports more often. So we're going to have more of these stories, Michael.
Yeah, sounds like it. Story number 2, Sean. The world's energy markets are facing turmoil again, with unions representing Woodside's LNG offshore platform workers giving 7 days' notice that they intend to take action.
The countdown is now on for negotiations with the union. The unions will give 7 days' notice to take protected industrial action unless enterprise bargaining claims are sorted out by Wednesday close of business. That's the day after Woodside reports its results this week. Makes it all very interesting. It means we could see strikes as early as September too. The issue has already thrown global energy markets into disarray, with as much as a 40% jump in European gas prices during August on the back of this threat. Australia is one of the world's biggest LNG exporters, and while we mainly sell into Asia, we are such a giant in the market that whatever we do has a cascade effect on other supply. Union Offshore Alliance said any industrial action will aim to keep gas flowing into the domestic market, but billions of dollars of exports will be at risk.
Now, Sean, story number 3, sport is due for a shake-up on free-to-air TV after the Matildas FIFA World Cup performance led to record audiences.
Yes. Communications Minister Michelle Rowland, in a statement to the Financial Review, said the government's preferred reforms to anti-siphoning laws will broaden the range of games on the list to include more women's sports and parasports. The anti-siphoning list is a collection of games the government requires big broadcasters to put on free TV channels. The list has major events in 11 sports. It now may be expanded to include major matches regardless of gender. A government paper is out for proposals until mid-next month, and legislation can be expected shortly afterwards. Of course, the government gave $200 million extra to women's sport last week under a new Play Our Way grants round.
Story number 4, Sean, just when the heat looks to be coming out of the housing market, it just bounces back. The preliminary auction clearance rates over the weekend hit a 6-week high of 74%.
Yeah, and that's, of course, across the 5 capital cities, with Sydney leading the way. Its clearance rate was 77.5%, the best since June. Melbourne was almost 73%. That was a big jump from 69.5% a week earlier. Now, just as we head into spring selling season, it just feels like there are more buyers out there in the market. Even more impressive was that these great clearance rates occurred as auction numbers jumped. In fact, there were more than 2,000 sales across the country. Well, potential sales across the country. That's the busiest week since April. Outside Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane's clearance rate was 69%, Adelaide 76%, and Canberra 62%.
Speaking of busy weeks, Sean, story number 5, it's getting busy on the moon this week. Spacecraft from Russia and India are both scheduled to touch down on the lunar surface.
Yes, and I think Japan's scheduled to launch a smaller lander towards the moon this week as well. Over the weekend, Moscow said its craft was having some difficulties, so we hope that lands okay. A Chinese craft, of course, has already been to the moon. In fact, there was a couple of times, 2019 and 2020. Private companies from Israel and Japan have tried and failed. Now we've got Russia, India and Japan almost there, getting very busy on the moon, Michael.
Yeah, it's a moon rush. That's fantastic, Sean. I love that story, and it's a great way to finish up the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 21st of August, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News wherever you listen to podcasts, and that comes with a bunch of interviews and things. Today's interview is a great one for investors. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.